The greatest war of your life will not be fought outside. It will be fought quietly, inside your own heart. My dear friends, many of you are graduating today, not just from a college, but from one phase of life into another. You are stepping into a world that will constantly compare you. Someone will always be richer, smarter, faster, more successful on social media. And if you are not careful, you will spend your entire life fighting the wrong enemy. Because the real battle is not you versus the world. The real battle is you versus yourself. Let us begin with the first truth, and I want you to listen to this slowly. Because this is where most lives quietly lose their direction. From the day we are young, we are taught to compare. In school, marks are compared. In college, ranks are compared. In life, salaries, lifestyles, relationships, followers, everything is compared, and without realizing it, we begin to measure our worth using someone else's scale. But tell me honestly, when did someone else's success ever truly reduce your potential? Never. Yet we allow it to steal our peace every single day. I once met a young graduate who said, "I feel like I'm failing because my friend is already earning more than me." I asked him one simple question: "Are you the same person you were 1 year ago?" He paused, because deep inside he knew. He had grown, he had learned, he had matured, but he was so busy watching someone else's lane that he forgot his own journey. Life is not a race where everyone starts at the same line. Some begin early, some begin late, some take breaks, some take detours. The tragedy is not being behind others. The tragedy is being behind your own potential. When you compare your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 10, you don't feel motivated, you feel defeated, and a defeated mind slowly gives up on effort. Let me tell you something very gently. You were not created to compete, you were created to contribute. A flower does not compete with another flower, it simply blooms. And in its blooming, it adds beauty to the garden. Your responsibility is not to outshine others, your responsibility is to outgrow yourself. Ask better questions. Am I more disciplined than last year? Am I more patient than yesterday? Am I learning even when no one is watching? Am I becoming wiser through my struggles? If the answer is yes, you are winning. Even if the world hasn't noticed yet, social media has made this battle harder. You see highlights, not hardships, results, not sacrifices, success, not sleepless nights. And then your mind whispers, "I'm late." But late compared to whom? Late according to whose timetable? God's timing is not a group project, it is deeply personal. Some fruits ripen early, some ripen late, but the late ones are often sweeter. When you chase others, you lose focus. When you chase growth, you gain clarity. Remember this: a person who knows their direction is never disturbed by someone else's speed. Instead of asking why them, ask what can I improve. Instead of envying success, study discipline. Instead of resenting progress, respect consistency. Every time you choose growth over jealousy, peace over comparison, effort over excuses, you win a silent victory within. And those silent victories compound. One day, you wake up stronger, calmer, more confident, not because you beat others, but because you didn't quit on yourself. So please, stop measuring your life with borrowed rulers. Start measuring it with honesty. If today you are more sincere than yesterday, you are already ahead. And if you stay faithful to your own journey, life has a beautiful way of meeting you halfway. This is not you versus the world. This is you versus the version of you that settles for less. Win that battle. And no comparison can ever defeat you. Every single day before the world asks anything from you, Life asks one quiet question inside your heart: who will you listen to today? Comfort or commitment? Discipline is not loud. It does not announce itself. It doesn't come with motivation music or dramatic moments. Discipline shows up when no one is watching, when the alarm rings and the bed feels warm, when quitting feels easier than continuing, when excuses sound reasonable. Most people think discipline is about force. But discipline is not force. It is choice. It is the ability to say no to what feels good now so you can say yes to what feels great later. I once asked a monk, "How do you stay so peaceful?" He smiled and said, "I don't negotiate with my lower self." That sentence stayed with me because inside each of us there are two voices. One says, "Rest a little more, you deserve it." The other says, "Get up, your future is calling." One wants ease, the other wants evolution. Discipline is not about becoming harsh with yourself. It is about becoming honest with yourself. You see, motivation comes and goes. Some days you will feel inspired. Most days you won't. If you wait for motivation, you will live an incomplete life. But if you build discipline, motivation will eventually follow you. Think about the gym. The first few days hurt. The body resists, the mind complains, but slowly, strength replaces soreness, energy replaces laziness, and one day you miss the workout if you skip it. That is the magic of discipline. What starts as effort becomes identity. People often say, "I don't have self control," but self control is not something you are born with, it is something you practice. No one wakes up disciplined, they wake up committed. Discipline is waking up on time, even when you slept late. Discipline is doing the work, even when appreciation is missing. Discipline is staying silent when ego wants to react. Discipline is consistency without applause. And yes, discipline feels uncomfortable, but regret feels heavier. Short term pleasure says, "Enjoy now." Long term peace says, "Prepare now." Every time you choose discipline, you are voting for the person you want to become. People admire success, but they don't see the structure behind it. They see confidence, not the countless mornings of doubt. They see results, not the routines. What you repeatedly do becomes your character, and your character decides your destiny. Let me be very clear. Discipline does not restrict freedom. Discipline creates freedom. When you control your habits stop controlling you. When you control your time, time stops slipping away. When you control your mind, your emotions stop dragging you. This is not about being perfect. It is about being dependable, especially to yourself. Many people break promises to themselves daily. "I'll start tomorrow. I'll try again next week. I'll change next year." And slowly, self-trust erodes. But the moment you keep even one small promise, waking up on time, finishing a task, showing up consistently, confidence returns, not the loud kind, the quiet, unshakable kind. Discipline builds self-respect, and self-respect builds courage. You don't need extreme routines. You need simple commitments honored daily. Read one page, walk for 10 minutes, pray with attention, work with sincerity. Small disciplines practiced daily create massive inner strength. And one day you realize life feels lighter not because problems disappeared, but because you became stronger. So when comfort tempts you to settle, remember this. Your future is watching your choices today. Choose discipline, not because life is strict, but because your dreams deserve respect. Before a person ever gives up on life, they give up in their mind. Before confidence shows on the outside, it is whispered quietly on the inside. Your life today is largely a reflection of the conversations you have been having with yourself for years. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Most people are not defeated by circumstances, they are defeated by their own thinking. I once met a young professional who said, I have opportunities, but I don't feel capable. Nothing was wrong with his talent. Nothing was wrong with his environment. Everything was happening in his mind. You see, the mind is like soil. Whatever seed you plant, doubt or faith, it will grow. If you repeatedly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, your mind starts collecting evidence to prove it true. If you say, I always fail, your mind remembers every mistake and forgets every victory. But if you gently tell yourself, I am learning, I am improving, I am not there yet, but I am on my way, something shifts, not overnight, not magically, but steadily. People often say, think positive. But this is not about fake positivity. This is about truthful optimism. Faith is not denying reality. Faith is trusting that reality can change with effort, grace, and time. Your thoughts influence your emotions influence your actions, and your actions shape your destiny. That means every negative thought you allow to stay unchecked slowly pulls you away from your potential. The problem is, we are very kind to others, but very cruel to ourselves. If your friend failed, you would say, it's okay, you tried, you'll do better next time. But when you fail, your inner voice says, you're useless, you'll never change. Why this double standard? You don't grow by insulting yourself. You grow by instructing yourself. The mind needs direction, not condemnation. One spiritual teacher once said, your mind should be your servant, not your judge. Observe your thoughts. Not every thought deserves belief. Just because your mind says, I can, that doesn't mean it's true. It means you are afraid. And fear is not a warning. It is an invitation to grow. Another important truth. Your mind loves familiarity, not success. Even negative habits feel safe because they are known. Change feels uncomfortable because it is unknown. So when you try to grow, your mind resists. It brings memories of past failures. It creates imaginary futures of embarrassment. It exaggerates risk. This is not intuition. This is insecurity wearing a convincing mask. Train your mind gently, like you would train a child. When a negative thought comes, don't fight it aggressively. Question it. Is this absolutely true? What proof do I have? What would I say to someone I love in this situation? Slowly, the mind learns a new language. Remember, what you focus on expands. If you focus on problems, life feels heavy. If you focus on possibilities, life feels hopeful. Gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to cleanse the mind. When you appreciate what you have, your mind stops obsessing over what you lack. Prayer, reflection, silence, they are not escapes. They are mental hygiene. Just like you shower your body daily, you must clean your mind daily. Limit what you consume. Not just food, information, negativity, comparisons, noise. Your mind is not a dustbin. Don't let everyone dump their opinions into it. And please remember this. Your thoughts today are rehearsals for your future. If you rehearse fear, you will perform hesitation. If you rehearse courage, you will act with confidence. You don't need to win every thought. You just need to stop letting thoughts win over you. The moment you become aware of your inner dialogue, you regain power, and when you master your thoughts, life outside starts aligning quietly. So be patient with your mind. Be firm with your beliefs. Be faithful in effort. Because when the mind becomes your ally, There is no external enemy strong enough to defeat you. Ego is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers very politely. It says, I already know this. It says, I don't need help. It says, why should I listen to them? And slowly learning stops. Humility, on the other hand, doesn't announce itself either. It simply stays open. I once met a man who was extremely successful. He had money, recognition, and influence. Yet every time he met someone, he listened like a student. I asked him, with all that you know, why do you listen so carefully? He said, because the day I stop listening is the day I stop growing. That is humility. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. Ego says, prove yourself. Humility says, improve yourself. Ego wants validation. Humility wants evolution. Many people believe ego creates confidence. In reality, ego hides insecurity. A truly confident person doesn't need to dominate conversations. They don't need to win every argument. They don't need to be right all the time. They are secure enough to say, I was wrong, I don't know, teach me. And those three sentences are signs of great strength. Ego isolates. Humility connects. Ego builds walls. Humility builds bridges. Have you noticed how ego reacts quickly, emotionally, defensively? Humility pauses, reflects, responds. When someone criticizes you, ego gets offended. Humility gets curious. Is there something here I can learn? Life sends lessons in many forms. Sometimes through mentors, sometimes through mistakes, sometimes through people we don't like. Ego rejects the messenger. Humility receives the message. One of the biggest barriers to growth is the belief that we have arrived. The moment you feel complete, progress stops knocking. Nature itself teaches humility. The tallest trees bend with the wind. The rigid ones break. Humility keeps you flexible, and flexibility keeps you relevant. Spiritually speaking, humility invites grace. When you bow down internally, life lifts you externally. Arrogance attracts resistance. Humility attracts guidance. Another beautiful thing about humility, it makes relationships peaceful. Ego wants to win. Humility wants to understand. In marriages, friendships, workplaces, most conflicts are not about problems, they are about pride. Two egos cannot coexist peacefully, but two humble hearts can solve almost anything. Humility allows you to apologize without feeling small. It allows you to forgive without feeling weak. It allows you to accept help without feeling dependent. And here is something very important. Humility does not mean tolerating disrespect. You can be humble and still have boundaries. You can be gentle and still be strong. Humility is strength under control. The more you grow, the simpler you become. The wiser you get, the quieter your ego becomes. Every great soul in history carried this signature: deep humility and deep conviction. They knew who they were, but they also knew they were still learning. So ask yourself often, am I listening to reply or listening to learn? Am I defending my image or developing my character? Because knowledge makes you smart, but humility makes you wise. And wisdom is what carries you when talent alone cannot. When ego steps aside, growth walks in. Now let us gently face a fear that quietly controls more lives than failure itself. The fear of falling. Failure by itself is not destructive. Fear of failure teaches. Fear paralyzes. I have seen people with extraordinary talent live ordinary lives, not because they lacked ability, but because they were afraid to try, afraid of being judged, afraid of being laughed at, afraid of being wrong. So they choose safety over growth and comfort over courage. But tell me something. Has avoiding failure ever guaranteed success? Never. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of it. Every meaningful life is built on attempts that didn't work. ideas that failed, decisions that taught lessons the hard way. But fear whispers lies. It says, if you fail, you will lose respect. If you fail, you will be left behind. If you fail, you will never recover. The truth is, most people are too busy with their own fears to remember your failures. And those who judge you for trying are usually those who never dared. I once asked a successful entrepreneur, "What was your biggest mistake?" He smiled and said, "Not starting earlier because I was afraid. Fear doesn't look like fear. It looks like procrastination, overthinking, waiting for the perfect time. But perfection is a myth. Growth is messy. If you wait until you feel ready, you will wait forever." Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward despite it. And faith plays a powerful role here. Faith says, even if I fall, I will not be abandoned. Even if I fail, I will learn. Even if this doesn't work, something better may come. Fear focuses on what you might lose. Faith focuses on who you might become. Every failure contains information. It shows you what doesn't work. It reveals gaps in preparation. It builds resilience. But fear turns failure into identity. I failed becomes I am a failure. Never confuse an event with your worth. You are more than your mistakes. You are more than your outcomes. Another truth: the pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret is permanent. Ask anyone in their later years what they regret. It is rarely the things they tried, it is the chances they never took. Fear shrinks life, faith expands it. When you trust that growth matters more than image, you become unstoppable. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What if I learn?" You stop hiding behind excuses and start showing up with sincerity, and something beautiful happens. Even when you fail, you don't fall apart because your identity is no longer tied to success, it is tied to effort. Failure becomes feedback, not a verdict. Spiritually speaking, fear separates you from purpose. Faith reconnects you to it. God does not expect perfection. He expects sincerity. Take the step, start the project, have the conversation, apply for the opportunity. You may stumble, you may struggle, but you will not stagnate. And stagnation is the real failure. So walk forward with faith, not fear. Fall if you must, but fall forward, because the ground you fall on today becomes the foundation you stand on tomorrow. Now let us slow down and speak about something that the world underestimates, yet the soul deeply understands: gratitude. People think gratitude is something you practice when life is good. In truth, gratitude is what makes life good. We often say, "I'll be thankful when I succeed. I'll be happy when things improve. I'll relax when I reach there." But peace does not wait at the destination. It lives in the journey. Gratitude is not ignoring your problems. It is refusing to let your problems blind you to your blessings. I once met a man who had lost almost everything in life: career, money, recognition. Yet every morning he thanked God for his breath, his body, and another chance. He said, "When I started thanking life for what remained, life slowly returned what I had lost." Gratitude changes your inner climate. Without gratitude, abundance feels like scarcity. With gratitude, even little feels like enough. The mind is trained to notice what's missing. Gratitude trains the heart to notice what's present, and what you appreciate appreciates. When you wake up grateful, comparison loses its grip, envy loses its power, complaints lose their voice. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Gratitude does not mean settling for less. It means appreciating where you are while working for more. It keeps ambition healthy. Ungrateful ambition creates stress. Grateful ambition creates purpose. Another beautiful effect of gratitude. It softens pain. When you see struggle as punishment, you feel bitter. When you see struggle as preparation, you feel patient. Every delay, every setback, every unanswered prayer has protected you from something you couldn't see, but you only realize this in hindsight. When you look back with gratitude, gratitude also deepens faith. When you thank life even before things improve, you are saying, I trust the process. This trust brings calm. You stop fighting reality, you stop resisting the moment. And in that acceptance, strength is born. Gratitude improves relationships too. When you appreciate people, they feel seen. When you take them for granted, they feel invisible. Say thank you more often, not as a formality, but as recognition. Recognition heals. And please remember, entitlement kills gratitude. The moment you think, I deserve this, peace disappears. Life owes us nothing. Everything we receive is grace. When you remember that, humility deepens and joy multiplies. Gratitude is also one of the fastest ways to heal anxiety. An anxious mind is focused on the future. A grateful heart is rooted in the present. You cannot be fully grateful and fully anxious at the same time. Try this. Before sleeping, count 3 things that went right today. Not extraordinary things, simple ones. A kind word, a meal, a moment of silence. Slowly, your mind rewires itself, and suddenly, life doesn't feel so heavy anymore. You begin to walk lighter, not because problems vanished, but because perspective changed. Gratitude doesn't change circumstances instantly. It changes you. And when you change, circumstances respond. So thank the struggle, thank the waiting, thank even the uncertainty, because someday you will look back and say, that phase made me stronger. And strength, born from gratitude, is quiet, grounded, and unshakable. Let me leave you with a truth that time has tested and faith has confirmed. Life was never meant to be only about you. The moment everything becomes about me, my success, my comfort, my recognition, pressure increases, fear increases, and joy quietly leaves. But the moment your life becomes about we, something inside you relaxes. Service does not weaken ambition, it purifies it. When you work only for results, you feel empty even after success. When you work with purpose, even the struggle feels meaningful. Every great soul discovered this secret early. Fulfillment does not come from accumulation, it comes from contribution. When you lift others, you rise naturally. When you give sincerely, life gives back silently. Faith teaches us this again and again. You are not the owner of your talents, you are the trustee. What you have was given to be shared, not stored in pride. Success that serves only ego fades quickly. Success that serves humanity becomes legacy. So, as you step forward in life, remember, win the battle within. Discipline your habits, guide your thoughts, walk humbly, fall forward with faith, remain grateful in every season, and serve something bigger than yourself. Do not let your success make you proud, let it make you grateful. Do not let your failures make you bitter, let them make you wiser. Because in the end, the only battle that truly mattered was never against the world. It was the quiet, daily choice to become a better human being. And when you walk that path with faith, life may test you, but it will never abandon. That is not motivation, that is truth.